Hi and welcome to the Segarona Creative Arts Network, also known as the SCAN, a channel devoted to the creative arts and culture industry. My first guest is Tebs David, a man that came from very humble beginnings, had a dream to pursue a musical career, and made quite a success out of it. I'm going to find out what his journey's been like so far. Good evening, Tebs. How are you doing?
Yes. I am doing very, very well. It's good to see you on different platform. DSM, I'm glad to have you.
Thanks so much for agreeing to be part of this interview and that you've taken some time out so that I can just, I suppose, get to know you more. I've worked a little bit with you in the radio scene and with one of your concerts that we helped with the lighting for that. I see it turned out really well. But yeah, I actually went
Yeah.
onto your website and checked a bit of your bio because I thought, well, it would be good to, just get a little bit of background of who is Tebs David. And wow, I found out some amazing uh, information about you and where you started out. So, yeah, I mean, the bit that I've gotten to know you, I mean, you are such a humble guy. You're not super flashy and arrogant, and that's something that I really appreciate and respect you for. Um, yeah, it's
Thank
such a great privilege to be able to have you on the channel. I'm just gonna dive right in.
Yes.
So I'll start off with the first question is because this is we're going to be talking about music and a lot to do with that part of your life. What actually got you into music? And that, I mean, that's the thing that at least I know you very well for.
Yeah.
Where did you start out? What is your journey been into music, especially in the South African art scene?
Okay, good. I grew up from a very musical family. My parents, siblings, and everybody around, they used to do a lot of singing at home, and that translated to church, and that whole thing got hold of me. When they do things at home, you like don't understand at some point, but along the line, you realize I love it. I love what they're doing, and I enjoy it, and I want to do more and even better. And really, those are the people who really inspired me into getting serious about music. And of course, started from church, Sunday school, moved into youth and a church choir. And all the levels have been really an element of growth. And then I realized I love music and I want to do something even more. So I, of course, like any other person, went to school, other places, colleges, and completed what I needed to do. Went to work, but I was still doing music during all breaks and school times, and I kept moving with music. And I think that's what helped me because I kept sharpening the skill by continuing to do that whilst I'm doing other. Although at some point I felt like I'm misplaced. And much as I was doing well in my retail work, because I joined retail and moved higher to other different levels of managerial posts, but I still felt a huge urge of music. So every weekend I was out and I would buy music, I would listen to music, I would go to concerts, I would go to church. It was just music all over.
And the style of music that you grew up with, like what sort of musicians were you listening to? What styles of music were you listening to? Because often the music that we grow up listening to really shapes our taste and how we approach music, especially when it comes to creating music and performing as well. What are some of the artists that you grew up listening to?
Okay. Firstly, I grew up from Assemblies of God. So Assemblies of God in South Africa, they're like choral music and rhythm is there. But what I like about them is that they like a neat and clean music with great harmonies. And but as well, I realized they want more spiritual music. It has to talk to somebody, and those things got stuck with me. And then so even my growth as I was looking outside into other artists that I would wish to be like, but I started being drawn into those people that are doing the kind of music that touches the heart. There's a difference between an artist that's very good, that we can look and say, well done, job done, and done well. But then I always love to see somebody that when it's done, more than the word well done, we say to him, we say, we are fulfilled. You have enriched us. We have learned something, and something changed in us. And that type of a thing kept me rolling. So, and I was happy because even when I was young, the likes of Benjamin Dube kept that thing running. So I must say Benjamin Dube was one of the guys that even when I was still at school, I kept looking to say, I wish I could do what this man is doing.
And you actually went on to manage Pastor Benjamin Dube, did you know?
You know, yes, when they say sometimes dreams become the reality. Because I remember playing on a cassette. We didn't even have the CDs by then. It was the cassette, like reel to reel. So, and we didn't even have electricity at that time. But I played on batteries, so I would carry it on my shoulder and listen to him and rewind it with a ball pen and put it in and listen. And so I enjoyed his music so much, and I kept saying, one day I wished I could work with him. One day, but little did I know that God will open up the opportunity that not only do I then work with him, I even become his manager. And God even promoted to a level where he said, you are my advisor. And you look around and say, who am I that you are so mindful of? That this big man that I grew up just admiring, today he says to me, you are my manager. And he's willing to come to me and say, what do you think I should do? Give me an advice. What do you think of that? Then you realize this is a God thing.
Well, that's quite an amazing story. I mean, to have that sort of journey to being someone that just listening to his music and then to actually working side by side with him and help him with his musical career to really grow and have greater impact with the message that he was bringing.
Yeah.
So
I think Sam, what one thing I learned out of that was the fact that we have to learn to be best at what we do. We may be different in our different giftings and talents, but if we learn to be best at what we're doing, somehow there's going to be an opening that needs you in that regard. When I went to him because I admired what he was doing, he actually did my marriage. He's the one who preached when I was getting married, and that's way back. and to cut the story short is that what was amazing for me was that I went to him as the man I'm looking up to, but he found out something that I have that he needs, which was more managerial administration that he realized he's lacking and he needed me to come in with. So I went in using that pole, and that pole helped me that at the end of the day, then he also produced my album. My first album was done by him, was produced by him.
Sure.
Songs were written by him. And so this God just works in an amazing way.
It is quite amazing. Like, it just blows you away with just the way God works in those ways, and gives you the desires of your heart in those spaces. Something small that for someone else might be something small or insignificant, but is really meaningful to you. And it might take years. I mean, like you say, you were very young listening to his music, and it took over those many years to eventually meet up with him and work alongside, and to step into that position, to be able to do that. That's that's quite something. Who would you inspire? Who would you say inspired you to make music? You say you were saying early on that you come from a very musical family. Were your parents musicians or just singers? Was it maybe describe a bit what the setup was and that environment?
They were mostly singers because we were very good with a cappella. And only in church we had musicians who would play, and they will accompany us and do that better. But we were very strong with a cappella, just harmonizing and making it sound pretty good. And then, but right in the same church back in Limpopo where I grew up, there was a guy who shot and got, let me say, who got famous because of his album, but it was more of a traditional album or a traditional artist. And what shocked me was that this guy would not write a lot of lyrics. He would just write few lines. He keeps repeating the line, but the way he does it, every line he repeats sounds a bit different. And so he's the first man. As a young boy, I would sit on the floor, watch him play guitar. And then he would play guitar, put it down, play pianos, put it down, go on drum. And I was like, so it was my first experience to see a whole band playing in my own church. And I mean, playing professionally. We had the Sunday morning service, but the Sunday afternoon service, they made it a bit of an open type of a service. And he used that. He brought his equipments, sound equipments, the PVs at that time. That's way back.
Sure.
Yeah, that's way back. Maybe around 84, 5 or so.
Wow.
But he bought equipment that were really good enough. So I saw him perform so well on those Sunday afternoons. I would never miss that service because I knew this guy's going to deliver good. So he's the man that really, his name is Ephraim Hartley. And I'm so glad that December this year, I was invited to be one of the judges of the Limpopo Gospel Music Awards. And so they asked me who has inspired you and who would you want to honor for the work that you've done. So I had opportunity to recommend him, and indeed, so December they gave him a lifetime award. I was really, really privileged to have him back after so many years, to have him back on stage, and so they gave him an award. So I'm so glad.
Sure, that's quite an experience to have that, to be able to work with someone like that.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the obviously growing up with that music and the different artists that you were then exposed to, how would you describe the music that you typically make, like your style of music? I mean, for the South African context, most people would know it, but if we think like maybe if there's someone from another country that's watching this, the style of music, how is your approach to creating the music that you do create and then perform?
With the traditional background I have in music, it automatically flows into a little bit of my contemporary. I love some element of contemporary, but more worship. So it's more of a fusion, because generally I love worship music, but I would want it a little bit more musical. And so for that matter, it's a bit of a combination of a traditional element of contemporary, and that combines into clear worship, I would say. So that's really the kind of music that I work on, and it seemed to be working for me. I flow very well with it, and the good part is that I realize when I travel, even abroad, it's well received, because it's got an element of Africa or South African, and then yet they can also relate with some of the things in there.
And maybe just briefly explain what you mean by like the traditional music, because I mean everyone's got maybe a different idea of what that sounds like.
Yeah, I would say, in other words, it's more, number one, Venek, it's what Venek is the bigger thing, but secondly, it's very South African harmony. So the harmony that brings it to traditional, in that instruments come in as accomplishments, but the actual music is based on the harmonies. And so that's when we say that's really traditional, and it will have certain instruments that are dominating, particularly the guitars. They will dominate a lot, but they will also have rhythms that are back and forth. That's when we will say it's more traditional. It's a little bit more traditional.
It's like that call and response sort of feel
correct,
in music.
yes.
So the singers would sing a bit, and then the guitarist would like
The
answer
guitar
with a
comes
melody.
in and fill it up. Yes, and so it's that whole combination that makes it really sounds quite beautiful.
And when it comes to the music that you composing, or when you're thinking of a song that you'd like to perform, what does your creative process look like when you're approaching something like the music that you've created over the years? Like, what sort of space do you get into? Do you go and meditate for a week, or fast, or I mean, everyone's got a very very different way of approaching
Yeah.
creating art and creating music. Well, what does that process look like for you? What have you found that works for you?
Yeah, mine is quite interesting. It's very interesting. I'm also harmony and rhythm based. And what is interesting is that before anything else, I will have a rhythm. And the rhythm will drop at night, will drop once I'm walking, will just drop once I'm doing something. And then and sometimes it's something that I've heard, I've seen particularly, or the place I've been, and then immediately when the rhythm comes through, it's easy for me to connect the lyrics in that regard. So it's mostly a story. It's not just music. It's mostly a storytelling that is more combined. And even if it's more like a worship song, particularly, it'll still have some level of connection. It'll be like, oh, I was sitting at a certain church, and this a certain pastor was preaching, and this line was my catchy line when he was preaching, and then the rhythm comes in, pops. Then we add the rhythm, we add that, put the lyrics. It just works, and sometimes it works easier. Sometimes the hardest part is when you have a very nice rhythm, and you feel like this is gonna be like a nice thing, but you pray about it, you meditate about the lyrics, you work hard to get the lyrics, and sometimes they don't match what you have and the excitement you feel, because the bigger thing is the feel. What do you feel in you? And so that's what takes a little longer. And sometimes when I do that, I work hard. If I realize they're not coming together, and I just keep that rhythm. And I know one day, when I'm not even thinking about it, God is just going to drop it. And soon as that drop, if it's 2 o'clock at night, I will wake up. If I'm driving, I indicate immediately, I stop. It doesn't matter whether I'm rushing for an appointment, I will stop and capture that.
I must say I've had that a few times as well, because I mean I myself listen to quite a wide variety of music, a lot of different excuse me, a lot of different music styles, and you'll get like a melody that you just sense, out of a song, or that inspires you. And something that I've found that I should do is, because I mean most of our smartphones all can record audio, is to actually just sing that melody in that moment while you remember, because it's so easy. Like you'll hear that sound, and then you think, okay, yeah, when I get home, then I'm gonna write this down, or I'm gonna write that song. But life gets so busy, and then by the time
Yeah,
you've gotten home, or you get to the next traffic light, that thing is out of your head.
that
So
thing. And it happened to me a few times, and I regretted so much until I said to myself, no more. Because I would know this is going to be a good song. In fact, some of somebody would call it a hit song. Some of those kind of songs, I'll know that with the immediate effect to say, this song is going to work big way. And that's why it's important for me to stop and capture that. And the few times that I didn't do that, when I wake up in the morning, I regret. I will have a terrible day, because I know I've missed out on a big opportunity that God has given me. So I've learned that. Now, whatever it takes, I will stop. And sometimes I remember that I was in my own church. We sit in church, and we just finished doing worship music, and pastors preaching. in the preaching, as she's going on or he's preaching, something pops, the great melody comes in, and I can hear the lyrics as well. I will literally run out of the church. Find a space. And even if anybody greets me, I'm not saying a word until I grab that, capture that. So it's a very interesting life we are living, I can tell you now.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting how these things work. It's quite sometimes very humorous. Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
to suddenly get that down and like, no, I don't want to be distracted. Just stay there. Just stay there. I'm putting
Yeah,
you one side.
hold on,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I mean, you've performed with quite a lot of different artists over the years. Some really amazing. Oh, well, I could probably say all of them pretty amazing artists. Otherwise, I don't think you would have chosen to collaborate with them, because there's obviously a certain characteristic or maybe a personality style or musical style and performance that you see in the people that you collaborate with and that you've performed with. What are those things that you maybe see in an artist and think, well, that's someone I would really like to collaborate with, or they could really work well with my own personal music style or the way that we perform?
I think it's a very good question. That one is a very good question. Saying it's good because it's not easy to answer. one, one, I believe, in my case, I realize I have to connect with the next artist. I gotta find a way that artist firstly has to talk to me. I gotta feel that person. Then I know when we collaborate, there's gonna be that signage. Whatever he or she is gonna be doing, I'll be doing, has to work together and has to produce certain results. And so that's number one. We need to feel each other. So firstly, is most of the times when I'm sitting listening to an artist, then I feel like, whoa, if this person blesses me so much and the direction is going that way that I would normally do, or is a direction that I've never taken, but I love that direction. That becomes key. And secondly, of course, I'm very strong with worship, so it has to be somebody that is able. I use the word is able to connect directly with God without any kind of interruptions. Without, I've seen a few people, and it's not a lot, that when things are not so easy, they are still able to connect and worship God no matter what. And I love those kind of people. Let me give you an example. We go to a situation just when the artist is on stage, that's song number one, song number two, and electricity goes off, load shedding for whatever reason. And then I would see that artists would continue and flow like nothing is wrong at all. And that was one of my strongest things with Reverend Benjamin Dube. I went with him to again, way back, to an event. The sound was not good. There's a better way you can describe the sound. The sound was not good at all. And certain artists who were even younger and smaller than him said we were not going to go on stage with this kind of sound. They literally walked away. Guess what? The man went on stage. The man picked up the same bad mic. You could not hear him well, but fire was like coming from the roof. Those are kind of people and artists I really admire, that nothing should stop them from connecting with God and transferring that to the people out there, no matter whatever they're going through. So that is my second strongest point. And of course, some of the people I work nicely with will be friends that flow in the same direction or have something unique that I feel like I don't have this and I need that to connect with what I have. So that'll be one of my way of looking at that question.
Fantastic answer. Very good answer. Sure. what would the what which sort of people? I mean, you've collaborated already with quite a wide variety of people. Who is someone that you would still that you haven't had the opportunity to collaborate with? Who is someone that you would really like? That's someone that you haven't been able to, either because of lockdown or because they live on the other side of the world. Who's someone that
Yeah.
you would really like to collaborate with still?
I think right now, if there's something that's burning me deeply, is a man called William McDowell. Somehow, his style of writing, the way he presents the music, the way he connects with the audience, just bubbles something in me. And I keep watching and listening to him. I'm like, this man is something too special. And he's not complicated in the way he's presenting the music, but it comes out so rich and meaningful. And for that reason, I'm sitting saying to myself, this is the man I would like to collaborate with. And the sooner the better.
Must maybe start sending that email already now to him or his manager. It's like as soon as lockdown opens, when international travel opens up again, we need to
And then,
set a
then
date.
no, definitely, I must say, I've worked with too many people. I've worked with different local and international artists, and enjoyed them so much. And but the one person have never had the opportunity to do so will be William McDowell. And then there are other more people that I'd love to do. Your Marvin Winans, love how they do their stuff. But somehow, William McDowell, whoo, man, Lord have mercy.
Somebody needs to open the door there for you. Just like
Yeah. If you're out there listening to what we're saying, just know this is a wish.
there
It's
you
a
go,
prayer.
Mr. McDowell. There you've had your request. You need to make a trip to South Africa. We've got a very enthusiastic and amazing artist that would like to collaborate with you. A little
Sam,
shout out there.
you know, Sam, you've been with us when we did a bold art concept. It was out at the open, in the garden. And at some point, I picture him. I could see him standing on that kind of stage outside there, doing his, ooh, man, Lord of mercy.
It was a great setting that I went and watched the videos of the concert that happened, and just with the lighting the way it was, and people outside on
Amen.
the lawn, it just had, even though it was so open, there's no roof, it still had that intimacy because you had the low lighting and that connection. And I think that's something that you really do well is connecting with the people that are attending. We sometimes call them connecting with the crowd, or
Yeah.
so, but I think
Yes.
that's something that you really do well. What made it easy for you? I mean, when you were starting out, and doing your first live performance in front of a crowd of people. I mean, I've been very nervous many times, even just having to MC an event, or hosting poetry events here in Pretoria, and then having open the mic up, so to say, for the evening. Um, how do you just like relax, or was it also difficult for you in the beginning? Your first step out onto stage, and you've got all these people waiting.
I think in the beginning it was very difficult. I remember clearly my first live DVD recording. And man, even now I look at it, much as I look at it, I'm like, whew, it was very tough. And I must say, I had so many challenges on the day because number one, I was coordinating the event myself and putting the rest of the stuff and making the event work. It was done at the State Theatre. and there were a few little disappointments along the way. You know how the devil will work out things. And I remember an hour before we could start, the other guy was supposed to, or the guy was supposed to do a beef up. I call it beef up lighting. Beef up lighting, and the jib guy. Somehow, I'm not there. We were at the State Theatre. They walked out of the State Theatre. They went to go get something to eat. And somehow, when they came back, they had a lot of hard time from the securities to allow them to come through.
Oh, no.
When they came in, they were very unhappy. And an hour before, they started packing the jib, and they said, no, we're not going to do this. We are not welcomed in here. The security guys in here. Literally, they walked away. So that's an hour before I could record. Number one, this is my first recording. Two, some people walked away from you. And I remember that I could not face the audience directly. As I was singing, I would look at my mic. I would look elsewhere. Even now, you can look at my DVD. I could not face the audience. But you know what is amazing, Sam, is that in that situation, that's when God shows up. In that kind of a situation, that is one of my biggest albums to date.
Sure.
That's one of the albums that sold over 100,000 copies. I did gold disc, platinum, whatever you could call it. That album did exceptionally well. But I could not even look at the people directly. That's the album that I had that song like You Are Faithful, Oh God, every day and every hour, you are faithful, oh God. But I did that out of a broken heart. And I meant it when I said, you are faithful, oh God. In other words, even when people leave me, you are still faithful, oh God. It doesn't matter how they do it and when they do it. Every day and every hour, you are faithful.
Need the organ under there now.
God.
I can hear the organ playing or the piano playing in the background.
Ooh, man. But yeah, it was those kind of experience. But as you grow in it, you learn, start learning certain things, and you get advices how to do it, and finally, you still get nervous. That don't go away. You still get nervous, but it gets better as you do it more and more and more and more. My first time performing in the States, I was so nervous because first time in the States, there's the legendary Darrell Corley sitting right here. And I'm like, this is the music himself. Who are we coming from all the way from South Africa? But somehow by God's grace, and you start learning and you move from one level to other. So this God is just amazing.
And what was your first experience like of performing in America and taking your music there and to get people from a totally different culture and different country to hear your music? What was that whole experience like for you?
I think it was quite interesting in that, number one, you're so nervous you don't know if the people will receive the music because it's different and unique. And number two, when you're back at home, when you make mistakes, you know how to cover up your mistakes. Because you know the cultures, and there you don't know the culture. So you're just going to get on stage and do what you need to be doing and believe that you're doing that correct. So it was not really easy. But thank God it was well received. And from place to place, conference to conference, it just started blossoming quite well. And I also had to learn so much. I did some work in prison. I did some work in juveniles. And you go to a prison, and I remember one of the prisons, I've been to, you find all guys sitting down. They like let them sit down, and you're the only one standing. And I remember that day, and I was just myself only. No instruments that time, nothing else, no backup, nothing. I needed to sing for them and convince them that what I have in me will work for them. If it worked for me, it can work for them. Sure. And for the first time, I'm singing, they're just sitting and staring at you, watching you. You feel like, I don't know if these people love what I'm doing. They understand what I'm doing. But you only see it when you finish the song, they stand up. they give you a standing ovation. They clap hands for a long time until the guards will ask them to stop.
Mm,
And then they request the next one. Then you know that it has landed on fertile ground.
sure. Yeah, and it's also having that obedience to feel, where are you being led to how to minister to people in that sort of space. To use some Christianese words, to kind of really reach those people where they're at, because they either locked up for life or kind of given up on life and made decisions along the way that have gotten them into that space. And to really reach inside there, because you can become so calloused. I would imagine your heart just hardens up because you're either angry at life or the way things turned out. But to have someone come and sing from a totally different country, and to be able to minister to those people and really touch them, and maybe even soften those hardened hearts, and really reach inside and bring about change, takes. I can only imagine must take quite obedience, and to know, okay, how am I going to navigate this space? It's a totally different country. It's you don't know what to expect, how people are going to respond. And I suppose there's also just something about the human voice, and to sing a cappella in front of people. It's got a very different effect. I mean,
Yeah.
you can listen to someone sing either on the radio or on a CD, but to actually be in front of them, to have them their physical presence in front of you, and to hear them singing out like that, it just does something like totally different to you. I can remember the first time, if I like kind of draw a connection to music.
Yeah.
I was in high school, and I'd heard classical music when I was younger, and on radio, listening to Classic FM or different stations that would play it at night. And then I was in high school, and there was a touring orchestra, and they came and performed in our high school hall. And to hear that was the first time that I had heard a symphony orchestra live, and there was just like it just like hits you like on a different level to hear music like that live, and the way the frequencies and the sound reacts with the room and the acoustics and all the accompaniments and the different voicings and the instruments. To hear it live like that. But I mean, the human voice just is on another level if it's really done well, and you feel the heart of the person in the songs that they are singing, where there's real revelation of the song and the words that they're singing. That it's not just let me see what have I got on my list, what can I sing, what worked well at the last event that I did or the last gig. But to
Wow.
really sense the room and to know in what direction you need to go.
Yes, correct. It is quite interesting, particularly in the lines that you're mentioning, that along the line, as you do music, somehow God gives you wisdom to start finding your best way of doing it. That you can be able to connect with the audience, and you can leave them with a meaning, with a better understanding and the love of what you're doing, and they go there complete and satisfied with what you do. So somehow God connects that. I started traveling overseas with a group before. And when the group dismantled, I started traveling with my own group. But of course, now it's a solo thing. And I remember one of the events I was
Was that
invited
with
at.
MGS?
That's
the first.
MGS. Yes, that's mighty gospel sound, and oh man, the Lord graced us. I graced us big time, big time. We did a lot locally and traveled the UK and States, and did that. And then time came where guys are grown up, they're getting married, and things are changing, lives are changing, and few of us continued differently with solo projects. And but one of my biggest ones was when I was invited to Trinidad and Tobago, and of course the biggest invite was for me to minister for the Minister of Transport. Yes, they had a project where they're dealing with kids. They're trying to encourage people to support young kids and get them to live better lives and encourage. So somehow somebody went on my website, realized that I've done so many projects in South Africa regarding children, orphanage, and all that, and then gave me a call to say the minister want to invite you to come and speak about it, to come and sing about it, and then encourage the people. So it was one of the biggest invitations I got. It worked out very well. But number one, now I need to be on stage for the ministers, the parliamentarians. They're all sitting there, and then of course the audience that don't. Some of them don't have anything to do with gospel music at all. But I needed to make sure that it is well presented, that even somebody who doesn't like gospel music would love what is happening. And by the grace of God, we did so well. And I remember when I left there, the minister gave me a flag, a Trinidad flag. They said, "This is now your second home. Anytime you want to come back, this becomes a second home." So when I finished that invitation and went to another one where, and I'm the guest artist. So they made a show, two shows, just for me. And I'm like, oh, South African artist, and I'm the only artist performing on the day. Number one, and they're charging people to pay in. You know that whole pressure where you feel like people paid money to come and watch you, so you gotta deliver well.
Performance, yeah.
But let me tell you, it worked out so well. Out of that one invitation, I got numerous invitations. That's why every year, without fail, I mean, for the past 10 years, I've been doing Trinidad and America and all of that because of that particular invite and ministry that just converted things for good. So sometimes God opens ways that you would never really understand.
Have you done any collaboration with some of the musicians or artists from Trinidad and Tobago yet? Or is that something that you would like to do? I mean, the music style is more. Well, I know the Caribbean. You've got reggae and soca and the different music styles that are there. Calypso.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that could tie into the music that you create, or would you like to collaborate with some of those musicians that you've maybe met there?
Yeah. Definitely, I met numerous of them, and really, some of them are really talented and gifted. One guy I even invited to the country. His name is Sean Sean Daniel. He came through. We actually even made a music video here that worked out very well for the Caribbean islands, and so I was quite happy that he came all the way for us to come in and do a music video with him. And then and they said group that I'm hoping by God's grace next year when I get there we will be able to do a live recording with them. So in fact, by God's grace, I'm already in the planning session now where I want to take a big group from South Africa. If things work out the way I wish, we want to book a flight and work out a package for people to be able to pay in and join me in go and record in Trinidad and Tobago. And then I'll be collaborating with artists in the Caribbean islands as well. In that recording, that's where my prayer is. I don't know when and how God is going to answer, to somehow bring him like Danny or William McDowell all the way to come and join us in the Caribbean islands, and we can fuse the whole thing. So yes, Caribbean music I love so much. There's one track that I did that's got Caribbean medley, Caribbean feel, and it is doing big rounds over that side as well.
Sure, man. It's amazing how these doors just open up to go and perform in front of these people, and how things work out through life and the journey that you've been on.
It is, particularly when you look at your background, when you look at where you're coming from, how you started, how you've been raised. People don't, it's tough or it's hard for one to understand certain things to say. People like myself, from my youngest age, my first pair of shoes that I owned, I was 9 years old. So all the way, I never owned shoes. And even the pair of shoes I had was given. to me, and I'm glad that the guy who gave me the pair of shoes last year, I made a big party for him to celebrate what he did when I was 9 years.
Sure.
So, but people don't get to understand the journeys we travel. That it looks nice and rosy, but there's been a journey that we traveled to get to where we are. And every time where you are, you look forward to where you are going, and it is still a journey to travel. So all we can do is to thank God for allowing us to do what we're doing.
Sure, man. I'm so glad I've been able to connect with you and just find out more about like your whole journey. I think the thing that what I can perceive from you and just from our conversation now is that you've stayed humble and not let because I mean you pretty well known in the South African music industry and overseas as well. But you've stayed humble throughout your whole life journey, coming from, small beginnings and just working your way up and following the dream that you've had to make music. It's really commendable and something that I think a lot of people can aspire to, especially in our South African arts industry and the music industry, because it's so. I mean, even to put maybe more emphasis on the secular scene, but I think it also carries across to maybe to some of the gospel music where it's just about putting on a show, and you need to make money because you do need to make money because you've got rent to pay and kids to put through school. But I find some people then kind of lose their focus along the way. And it just becomes about chasing that next gig and that next paycheck, and you kind of lose the passion along the way of what you got into it in the first place. What was your reason to get into that? What have been the sort of things that have kept you grounded throughout your life? That because often guys, as they get more famous and they do their first gold record and the next one, become quite arrogant and it's all about me, and you kind of forget about the people that have been instrumental in getting you to where you are and have really given a lot of input into your life to be able to get you to where you are.
Look, I think that's very crucial a line that you bring up there. To say generally, it's not an easy thing when people lift you up, you decide to do otherwise. And I always say people automatically do that without you asking them. But you have to decide early before whatever happens, to say, this is the path I want to take. It doesn't matter what journey and what people, what my achievements are, but I want to stay here. I want to stay in my lane. But one of the reasons that I realize it helps, it has longevity. And because I've already done it, I think it's better for me, or it's easier for me to even say it. I've seen it, that if you decide early, I'm gonna stay humble. It doesn't matter what God is doing in my life, what people are doing in my life, what I achieve. You decide that's what I would do. Somehow, in fact, it's very interesting that when you do that, automatically, people respect you even more than when you're trying to make them respect you. and I've realized that in many ways than one. I just wrote recently on my social media that in 2020, this is the first year I've not traveled internationally in the past 20 years.
Wow.
I started traveling internationally in 1999. In 1999, I did one trip. In 2000, I did 4 tours. And that's like going to America, 3 weeks, come back. Going to UK, 2 weeks, come back. And I must say, all those trips were fully paid. And just America only, if I just mention America only, I've done over 35 states in America. And I try keep records of how many times I've been to America, and I realized that I've been to America over 50 times now.
Must have a
But
big
then,
stack of passports then, I can imagine.
yeah, my passport got filled up 2 times already. In the one I have now, I had the one that they call it double.
Sure.
So double the passport to make sure that I don't keep going back there because I kept going back. and but then it's all because you decide, Eli, I'm going to stay humble and allow God to direct my path and allow God to channel me where I'm going. And in places where you go to, you have to always register in your mind, in your head, it's not you, it's not about you, it's about God. Every time talk to yourself. Because if you don't talk to yourself, something else will talk to you. And most of the times it'll be a negative talk or something that says to you, you know how big you are. You know
Mm-hmm.
that you are better than so and so. So then you need to learn to do that. And the second thing I've also learned is to serve, to have a serving spirit, to say it doesn't matter what happens. I want to, whatever happens, I want to be the first one to say, how can I help you? Can I lift up this one? Can I help you carry this? Can I help you do that? When you do that, somehow, automatically, you're promoting yourself. I think that song that say, if you humble yourself before the eyes of the Lord, He will lift you up. I've proved it over and over, and because I've seen it, that's why I don't want to let go. I'm holding on to that system or principle or strategy to call it because I've seen it working. So, in a nutshell, that's what I can say to you. It has helped me in many ways than one, and sometimes you feel like somebody was saying to me, the way God has used you, the places you've been, the performances you've done, people don't even know about it. You should go out there and make a noise about it. I said, no. At the right time, God opens up a channel, and it must be for empowerment reason, for to help somebody else, upliftment, not yourself. It must be
Yeah.
to encourage somebody to say, you can. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. You can. If He did it for me, He can do it to you.
Sure. I think we're gonna pass the bags around to take up a collection. It's a good sermon, but it's so it's so true what you say, and very much part of um, having a successful and also a consistent career in the arts and in performing. Um, and I think integrity also ties in very well and very much part of um, performing and to choose that sort of career because it's so easy and you see it time and time again. Guys start out at a young age in the music industry, and it's pretty cutthroat out there. You only get a fraction of the record sales maybe, and sometimes it doesn't work out so
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
and you get tempted with all kinds of different offers.
Mm.
But to remain humble, but to also have the integrity to pursue good things in that industry, and to not be distracted by maybe a quick win or a quick victory that it's going to get you some quick money, but maybe down the line is going to have a bad effect or a negative effect on your career as a musician. And yeah, it's good stuff. And I think because it's not just in the music industry. I think it's across many performing arts um, in South Africa, and I think globally as well. To have that, the humbleness and the integrity. If you think of the late Chadwick, that the actor that passed away. And how much he had learned from Denzel Washington and paying it
Mm.
forward to those sort of actors. They're not boisterous and flashy. They've just got like, they're quite level-headed and consistent.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and you can see in just in the byproduct of what they put in and how they conduct
Mm.
themselves, that there's such a return and such a benefit for other people around them, because you can see
Yeah.
how he had learned so much from Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
just with his career. And I think that you might not know it, but I'm sure there's people that you've had a positive impact on in the local arts industry, just
Yeah.
by someone coming to a concert, or where you minister in a community and play music, and someone's
Yeah.
like, man, I want to be that guy one day when I'm older, or when I'm
Yeah.
finished with school, I want to pursue a career in music. And yeah, it's having a lifestyle that, especially if you're singing gospel music and in that industry, for lack of a better word, but in that specific genre in South Africa, that your lifestyle really matches up with that, because it's
Yeah.
you can so easily be tempted by things along the way. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even in the working as a sound engineer with other musicians, to I mean, I don't say to them, because they may be smoking something or drinking something, you're gonna burn in hell. You can't do
Yeah.
that. You're not gonna reach the person. But I think it's
No,
just
you
by
can't.
just
You
by
can't.
serving them well, and it's like servant leadership ties into that, to serve people well, um, and they see what you're doing and how you treat the fellow musicians.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I think
Mm.
you work really well with other musicians and performers and that, and to just treat them well and with respect, and they'll then want to collaborate with you again, and
Yeah.
they learn something out of it for themselves as well, to see, well, sure, this guy's like, he's really really level and sorry, and steadfast, and really humble, because
Yeah.
you want, I mean, it's natural to want like a really big and successful music career, because
Yeah.
I mean, especially in South Africa, I mean, music is very much part of our life, and feeling the beat in the music, and that it's so much part of
Yeah.
our culture that,
Yeah.
yeah, and we've got such a diverse culture in South Africa. Music is so
Yeah.
much part of
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, sure, man.
The interesting part as well about that is that the way we would normally conduct ourselves would help normally. That's what I would advise people in most times when I have opportunity to say, the way you conduct yourself, the way you work with people, has a way to bring some more to you, because it attracts better things and better people and better things to you.
Yeah, it's very much part of trying to have a good message that you trying to convey to the people that are coming to watch your shows, and the music that you sing, that there's congruency, that there's a matchup between your lifestyle, the way you conduct yourself off stage, and the music that you sing in and performing on stage. Particularly for if you're performing gospel music, because there's a certain message that you're conveying, um, and because so many times, it's one kind of person on stage and different kind of person off stage, but that you have that
Yeah.
humbleness and integrity when it comes to the music that you're trying to bring across. On a slightly, or quite a different topic, how's your experience been in the music industry in South Africa, and what do you feel could improve? What are the things that we could improve as a nation when it comes to music and our local artists? Because you so often see guys going across, overseas, because maybe they're not celebrated here in South Africa, and I feel that that's something that I've picked up on, especially if we can compare it to America, which, okay, it's a totally different country, but they really seem to celebrate
Yeah.
their musicians, even sports people and
True.
things like that. And I think
It's
that's
true.
something that we
It's
could
true.
really, really improve on in South Africa, is to really celebrate our local artists. So yeah, if you could maybe just think a bit about that, and how we could improve it, how we could do things better.
Yeah, I think good example you've used there about America. I've also noticed that that particular country has a good way of celebrating the people, their people, or people that are serving them, artists particularly. And I think we have very little in that regard. I keep saying we celebrate them when they've passed on,
Very much,
when they're
yeah.
still alive. I mean, literally, literally, when I'm in the States, at some point we were in New York, just for the people to hear that Kirk Franklin is around. Even children, even the elderly people, the whole mood would change. Where can we go see him? Can we go? They're excited to go and meet him. They're excited to go and celebrate him and make noise. And I realized that no, here at home, if Pastor Benjamin Dube walks around, so a child will just say, he looks like, Benjamin, that's Benjamin, hello. And that's what we do. And also, there are not even better ways that we should be using to celebrate and appreciate our very own. You see, in the States, they have shows to celebrate the different artists. And they'll bring different artists together to come and sing songs for the particular artist. In a way to say we appreciate your input, we appreciate the music you have done. We can even interpret that music even differently so, and we've learned so much from you. And even the way they love that kind of music, you can see they've really, really found the art of celebrating each other. Even the artists themselves, they know how to celebrate each other. So I think it's something we could learn in the country and learn to do a little bit better. And I think we will be much more better people. So the journey is quite interesting in the country. Of course, there are a lot of infrastructure that is not coming together for artists. Those who are starting, and even I've realized now in those who are even in the beginning, and also it's easy for you to reach a ceiling in the country, and that ceiling doesn't necessarily mean you've made it. It's just that you can't get further. You are stuck there. The opportunities are there, but you are stuck where you are. And so you would wish there will be organizations, people, churches that are able to say, hey, we appreciate the ministry from this person, but it's been stuck there. How can we help him get better? How can we connect it to somebody else? And that whole spirit of selfish, of not being that selfish, of just wanting things for ourselves, where we're able to say, how can I help the next person get better? Even if we are doing the same thing, I'm an artist and an artist, but how can we let me help the next party? And this is where I draw this line so much. I love to say, it's better for you to give than to receive. I realized, I have learned later in life that the bigger person is the one that gives than the one that receives. And to a level where when I receive, I appreciate, but I no longer get too excited about receiving. I oppositely get excited about giving, because now I know the power of the other side of the story. When you give, you are a bigger person, you are a better person, and because the more you open up, the more the doors are there for you. and I've learned that, and I hope and wish that in our country we can learn to do just that. Some of us, when we started the music industry, I look back, I'm like, no one wanted to help us. Some doors we knocked. Some people I literally called and say, man, I want to do this. Can you help me? They were not even interested. Some would tell you in your face, no, you're on your own. And I'm talking about gospel people,
Sure.
Christians, and that you wish they could be the ones to say, let me hold you by the hand. I've walked this journey before. Be careful of this and that, and that's how you're going to do. And you'd realize along the line that it's not everybody, it's not a lot of people who want to go there. We know it's a job to train and mentor somebody, we know that.
Yeah.
But you also realize it's a very important thing to do. And the moment I realized that, I started picking up people that I can, one by one, because I realized the fact that I didn't have tells me I need to make other people have more.
It's not an easy mindset shift to make, because especially now, with the economy that's so low down, and especially for musicians and performers, almost everyone in the arts industry um, has been quite harshly affected by
Yeah.
what's happening in the world, with COVID and the after effects of that. Um, and the natural thing is then to want to keep everything for yourself because you're just trying to survive. You're hanging on to that last 50 rand or whatever it might be. Um, but to have that mind shift change, to give the next person, a step up, to help them in their career, because there's probably been people that have come along your road and helped you out to get to where you are. And it's to just have that
Oh yeah.
mindset, and it's
Oh,
not just a church religious thing. It can be applied in so many different spheres of life and in different societies and in different ways to give and to help other people, because then you empower them to become better people as well, and they can help more. And it has that knock-on effect in paying it forward, where someone has helped you out to then pay it forward to the next person and to bless another person as well. Sure, man. It's been a great journey, and thank you so much for your time, Tebs. It's really been such an honor to have you on the show and to really just get a different look on who you are, and to really find out some of those really deeper, those nuggets of who you are in your journey through the the arts and the music and performing industry, and that whole community in South Africa. And yeah, I'll just thank you and commend you for the work that you've done so far. Where do you see things going forward? What is it? What is the next thing that you would like to achieve with the music and with the skills that you have?
I think it's a lot that one is looking at. I know people are discouraged with this COVID-19. For whatever reason, I am so encouraged. I'm saying, one, thank God that I'm still alive. Thank God that I'm healthy. And because of that, it gives me the opportunity to start looking ahead and say, how else can I do better? And how else can I impact more people? I like the line that I say every time on radio: go out there and make a difference in the lives of other people. So it is for me to look into that whole spectrum. So part of what I'm looking forward to is come next year, come a year after, where I want to take quite a group of people overseas to some of the places I've been, some of the work I've done. They would also taste what I've tasted, be encouraged, so they can be encouraged and know these things are possible. You can be able to do that. So I'm looking forward to be able to do a little bit more. And even locally, as you know, with those shows that we do, are called Bolt Art. That's where we would normally have a choir where we give opportunity to those upcoming artists who want to get up to that stage. And then, secondly, then I collaborate with the renowned or well-known artists, and I say to them, let's get together and do it together. And so it's always been my passion to bring people together, to bring artists together, to do things that will help us in a bigger way, to get out of ourselves into other people's selves, if there's ever an English like that. But that's what I wish to do. In those little words, I want to say thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And I also appreciate you. And we keep praying for us. We want to, by the grace of God, we're looking forward to the year to come, so we can do bigger and better and reach out to the most outside there, and find people to come to Christ, more importantly, through the ministry and the work that we are doing. So I'm delighted, I'm excited, I'm encouraged, I'm so looking forward to what God is about to do. That's why in my line I say, behold, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? He says, the old are gone, behold, I'm doing a new thing.
Thank you so much, Tebs. I think you said something about to go out and make a difference and be that change, and something that ties into that is to also be the change that you want to see in the community that you're living in.
Yes,
Because
sir.
it's so easy to say, someone else must do it, but and to just throw money at it. But we have to actually get involved and be on the ground and being the hands and feet and to really make the difference in the community. Thank you so much once
Yes.
again for your time. It's been such a great conversation, and I think we'll definitely have to do a follow up. I'll work on my getting rid of my mkaba here.
Yeah.
So I can fit in the suitcase for the next trip to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. The good part is that you know the people, you know the ambassadors, so you automatically qualified to go in Trinidad.
Thank
So
you so
yes,
much.
looking forward to what we're gonna do.
Thank you.